right, friends, welcome. Welcome to another webinar from SQL Maestros. Today's content is about the power of indexes. Typically, I would not come up with a PowerPoint slide or a bunch of slides. Generally, I straight away jump into the VM and start off SQL Server Management Studio, and we start talking about the code, the demos, the snippets. But I thought for today's webinar, for today's content, a few slides are required. So I've prepared something different today. And yes, of course, today's webinar is happening after a gap of a few weeks. There were some troublesome, last few weeks. I was not keeping well. Things were a bit of traveling, and yeah, things were a bit upside down, and that's how life is. Life is all about ups and downs. But yeah, things are coming, getting back on track, and that's why I'm back again with our webinars. So let's get started with the housekeeping questions, common questions that keep coming in each webinar. And thankfully, I remember most of them because you have been asking them in previous webinars. So the first question that keeps coming is, are the webinars recorded? So yes, all our webinars are recorded. Just let me verify that, yes, this one is also being recorded. And the recordings are going to be available on sqlmaestros.com. So I'll give you that link there in the chat window, sqlmaestros.com. And yes, explore the webinar recording section, the masterclass section, upcoming live classes, the masterclass recordings, the video courses, the all-in-one bundle, a lot of stuff out there. Free video library, premium video library, you have free membership, premium membership, a lot of those stuff. So I won't get into marketing now because the link for SQL Maestros is right up there for you to see and explore. All right. The next question is about the resources that we use in our webinars, the code snippets and the demos. Yes, they are also available on sqlmaestros.com if you go to the resources section. I think you will have to sign up as a member to access them. And our YouTube channel, all of you should be a member of our YouTube channel. Again, on YouTube, it's just youtube.com/SQLMaestros. Each week, we post a lot of content on our YouTube channel, archive videos, shorts, premium video content, free video tutorials, and it's loaded with a lot of performance tuning stuff. All right, let's get started, friends. It's just right on top of the hour, the power of SQL Server indexes. Okay, so what do we have lined up for you in the coming weeks? So, this time for the next few weeks, like kind of 2 months, I've planned something for all of you, for the SQL community, and this is where we are. Today, 22nd February, we have the power of indexes. This is a webinar that we're doing right now. Okay, it says the screen is blank, really? Okay. Okay, can you see the screen? The current slide shows up what's lined up in the coming weeks. Okay, yeah, you can see. Okay, all of you can see. So those of you who cannot see, maybe there's something wrong with, I don't know, screen sharing issue is kind of unheard of. There are sometimes audio and video issues. Yeah, maybe network issues. So maybe you may want to rejoin if you are not able to see the screen. I can see that most participants are confirming things are good. Okay, so let me continue. Yes, so we have today's webinar, The Power of Indexes, 22nd Feb. Then next week, 29th Feb, we have SQL Server Indexing Architecture. This is a webinar that I have planned, and the kind of content that I'm covering in this webinar, like the time frame of 1 hour wasn't enough. So I've broken it up into two parts. So you have part 1 and part 2. So part 1 is happening next week, 29th Feb, and part 2 is happening on 14th March. That will be part 2. So all of them are Thursdays. These are all Thursdays, right? Thursday is the day of our webinars. 28th March, then again, we have index tuning, clustering key choices. This was a webinar that was supposed to happen a few weeks ago, but then, as I said, due to some reasons, we were not able to deliver this. So that's up on 28th March. Please take a note that after 29th Feb, which is after next week, we have a gap. So it's not continuously all Thursdays. So just take a quick picture of it or a note of it or whatever that will kind of help you. All right. And then, friends, after these 4 webinars, there is a index tuning masterclass, which is 15 hours of live delivery, starting from Monday to Friday, 3 hours each day. In case you are interested in something like this, you can just keep this link safely somewhere and you can explore all the upcoming live masterclasses. So this is going to focus, this next 2 months is totally focusing on indexes. So yeah, webinars are all free. And if you think you want to go one step further, deep dive into index tuning, then you may want to pick up this masterclass. Those who register for the masterclasses, they get live attendance and they get access to the recordings also lifetime. Okay, so now, power of indexes. What do we have for you for today, for the next 40 minutes or so? I'm going to show you scan versus seek. I'm going to show you how you can get rid of sort. I am going to show you indexed views, how that can give you blazing fast performance, and how indexes can help you avoid blocking scenarios and even deadlocks. So there's some content planned up there. And deadlocks, I'm not sure if we are going to have enough time to do deadlocks as stuff, but we'll see. All right. Now, these are basically the 5 demo pieces that I have for you today. But today's webinar, today's content is a bit different, as I was mentioning earlier. What is the objective of today's session? So what are we trying to do today? To just show you the power of indexes. I am not going to dive deep into how did we decide to come up with a certain kind of index, to get rid of hash aggregate, to get rid of the sort operator, to convert a scan into seek? How do we decide that we should take multi-column index or single column indexes? How do we decide the order of indexes? How do we compare performance between multiple indexes? Talking about unused indexes, redundant indexes, duplicate indexes, index maintenance. It's a huge subject. So today's webinar is just trying to show you what is the power of indexes. Now, from my performance tuning consulting experience, and I'm sure some of you will resonate with me here, is about 70 to 75% performance improvement can be seen straight away by having the right indexes in place. Really, it works so much. If you have the right indexes in place, most queries, many queries are automatically tuned because indexes are searching mechanism. Your queries that have these where clauses, they are the first operation here is finding the data, and indexes help the optimizer, the storage engine, to get to the data faster. So that's why there's so much thrust and focus on indexes all the time. Yes, there are a lot of other things that you do with the query itself. When you look into the execution plan, you have hints, you have different iterators to work with, you use new T-SQL constructs, you're rewriting T-SQL. There's so many areas when it comes to performance tuning, but indexes really have been at the forefront. So the purpose of today's content is to show you what that power is with indexes. And then subsequent webinars is where we are going to get into the architecture, the design, the strategies, the permutations and combinations. Okay, so action time now. Let's jump into the demos, and I am going to move into the VM. There you go. And let me see if you are able to see the VM. Can you all see the VM? Management Studio is on. Let me close this one. Yeah. Okay. So, and you can see the 5 folders out there that I have put up, which will have the content, which has the content. Okay. Before we begin with the demo, let me just quickly remind you, I'm not getting deep into how did I do something? Why did I do it this way? I'm sure when you're going to look at the demo, I'm going to show you bad performance and then with index good performance. This is just the beginner. This is just a starter. So for many of you, who have been working with SQL Server and with indexes, you would see, okay, this is just going to be a good refresher and maybe eye openers in some case, wow factor and whatnot. And for others, it's going to be huge motivation for you to join the next two webinars where we do the architecture and the design. That is where I'm going to answer a lot of questions about how and why. Okay, let's get started with the first one, scan versus seek. Let's open this up. Now, scan versus seek would probably be the most easiest demo any SQL Server speaker or a SQL Server instructor can show you. It is just so easy to take a huge table, write a simple select query, something like this, with a where clause on a specific column, one or two columns like this, with no indexes at all, and then run the query. And then the query will take a few seconds to execute, maybe because it's a huge table. And then obviously, that the SQL Server Management Studio is going to recommend you indexes because you don't have any indexes, no non-clustered indexes whatsoever. And SQL Server will give you a missing index hint that, I can give you 99% performance improvement impact if you had a non-clustered index on product ID and transaction date, something like that. And then you go ahead and create that index and wow, you get a blazing fast performance improvement. A query that was taking 10 seconds will start, executing in less than 1 second. Why? Because earlier it was scanning, now it will seek. That is the most basic thing that anyone can show you. And I didn't want to show that to you. I didn't want to start with that because you would be like, wow, are we wasting our time joining this webinar where someone is just showing us the difference between scan versus seek? So I decided to tweak the demo a bit, and I'm not showing that to you, but I'm showing you something different and something really interesting. Okay, watch this. So we will use AdventureWorks 2016 for the purpose of demo. And there are a couple of indexes on this transactions table. Okay, so let's see what do we have in transactions table first. Transactions table is a table with a few million records out there. I'm just showing you top 10 records, and you will see a few attributes like actual cost, quantity, transaction date, product ID, and whatnot. Small table in terms of number of columns, but a huge table in terms of number of rows, like 31 million records approximately. Now, we'll turn on statistics time on because we want to record the time metrics here. Now, what you will see here is this first query. Select start from, okay, let me show you the indexes first. I didn't show you the indexes that we have here. So what you will see that there are two indexes here. So you have one index on product ID and transaction date, and another one seems to be a clustered index. So you have a non-clustered index on product ID and transaction date. The moment you see index keys, product ID and transaction date, look at that. They match here, product ID and transaction date, right? So you expect SQL Server Optimizer to use this index. Now, look at this. We'll run this query, and you will expect Optimizer SQL Server to use this index, rightly so. Let's turn on the actual execution plan. Let's go and execute this. Okay, we are showing you the power of indexes. Jump over to the execution plan, and you will see, yes, the index is being used. This is what you had expected. A seek operation is happening. How much time did the query execution take? If we don't go into the time metrics, and I will tell you why this is so very important, just not looking at the execution time in the status bar there. So if you look at the status bar there, it took less than 1 second for this query execution. Okay, keep that in mind. With the right index in place, it took less than 1 second to execute. Now we are going to run this statement. This is the same query that we ran earlier. The only difference is now we are using a index hint. We're saying with index 0. Index 0 here, the numeric number 0 here means SQL Server will now do a scan. Because there is a clustered index on this table, it will do a clustered index scan. All right, so let's go and do this. Why are we doing this? I am here to show you the power of indexes. So obviously, how many of you expect that now this execution is going to take at least a few seconds? The previous execution with index seek took less than 1 second, but this one will take about 4 to 5 seconds, maybe more. If you think, yes, this is going to take more time, say yes. If you think this is going to take more time, say yes. And if you think it's not going to take more time, it will still be less than 1 second, you could just keep silent and keep watching. Okay, many of you are saying yes. If I were you, if I was in your place, I would also say yes, looks like, because as we know, this is a huge table. So this is going to be a huge scan. It might take a few seconds. Let's go and execute this. Okay, let's go and execute this. And you know what? It took 1 second. This is the first execution. If we execute this again, you will see the output coming up less than 1 second. Now, 1 second, the earlier one was also like just less than a second. So there isn't a huge difference. So all of us, including myself, we said this is going to at least take a few seconds. We were wrong. Let's jump over to the execution plan. And we expected that there will be a scan. Yes, there is a clustered index scan. And if you take the cursor over the arrow here, look at the number of rows read. Can you read this? This is what? Is it 31 million? Am I right? Yeah. Yes, it is. Indeed. Or 3 million. Okay. Whatever. Huge number of data is being read, but it did take 30 plus million. Yeah, it did take just less than a second. Now, why am I talking so much about this scan versus seek? Okay, let's just take one step back and understand the basic premise. The basic idea here is scanning a huge table is supposed to be very expensive. This query should actually take a few seconds, but it did not. And when you have a non-clustered index, the right index that SQL Server wants, when that is in place, it just takes the same amount of time. So where is that performance improvement with the index in place? Which means when I have the right index in place and when we execute this, this also just takes less than a second. So where is the performance improvement with index C? Now, let's run both of them and let's look at the catch. So first, we are going to run this one, which we just did. Let's look at the execution time. And that's why I said this is so critical. Don't go and look at the status bar out there. Execution time, you should always jump over to the messages there. Let us scroll down a bit. And what you are going to see, let's do this once more. Okay. Jump over to the messages tab. You are going to see the CPU time and elapsed time. The CPU time here says 0 milliseconds. It's not technically 0 milliseconds. It's of course a few milliseconds, but or less than a millisecond maybe. But just for the sake of understanding, this is 0 milliseconds. Elapsed time is 190 milliseconds. Keep this in mind. Okay, take a note of this. 0 milliseconds is CPU time, and total elapsed time is 190 milliseconds. Let's go and execute this one, the scan. Let's go and execute this, which takes slightly more time, 1 second or so. Let's jump over to the messages tab, scroll down, and to your surprise, CPU time is 4,750 milliseconds and elapsed time is 803 milliseconds. So the elapsed time is not a big deal because in both cases, this was less than 1 second. But the catch is this fellow, which is CPU time. From 0 milliseconds, it shoots up to 4750, almost 5 seconds of CPU time. All right, friends, are you understanding the power of indexes here? Now, many of you will have this question, how come 5 seconds and where are all these numbers coming from? And it did not really take 5 seconds, but then how can it spend so much time? Like so many CPU cycles were consumed by the scan process. Yes, all this is going to be answered in our upcoming webinars and of course in the master classes. But the power of indexes here is just not about the total elapsed time. It is just not about the total execution time. It is about how much time is your threads spending on the CPU. In case of the seek operation, which is the write index in place, it just spends negligible amount of time on CPU, 0 milliseconds. But in case of scanning, so many different threads are running in parallel. About 8 threads are running in parallel, and they are spending their sweet time on the CPU. So collectively, when 8 threads spend about a few hundred milliseconds, all of that clubbed together brings up 4750 milliseconds. If you look at the execution plan carefully again, you will see a clustered index scan operation. And look at this. This is a parallel execution. So if you right click on this and go to properties and look at the number of rows there, okay, IO number of batches, number of rows here, look at the threads. How many threads were doing the job? Thread 1 to thread 8. All right. So this is the amount of time. And what was the whole idea? Just for one record. That's the catch here. Take the cursor over the arrow. Look at this. Actual number of rows was returned was only 1, but you had to scan the entire table. Okay, friends, power of indexes. This is just the starter. So I tweaked this demo to show you just not the elapsed time, but CPU time. So how you put your focus on CPU time. I would have loved that the status bar here just does not show the execution time, but could also show you CPU time, because, these are certain important hidden metrics where you kind of have to turn on all of this and watch it in messages window. Yes, execution plan is also showing a lot of those things now in the properties window, but that still requires some work, a few clicks here and there. Having this right ahead up on the status bar would have been really wonderful. Okay, friends, how is it going? Did you enjoy that first demo? The first demo itself took so much time. Seriously, I can just get the demos answered quickly. Okay. Let's close this. We are looking at the power of indexes. Okay, scan versus seek. So let's go into the next one. How can indexes help you get rid of the sort operator? Okay, reminding you again, we are not getting into the depth, the technical aspects. I'm just trying to show you, okay, this is how things were, and with the right indexes, this is the output. So, and in comparison, how with the right index, the query performs so much better. So you understand indexes play such a critical role in query performance. Okay, we are using AdventureWorks 2016 here, and just AdventureWorks, not 2016. Okay, so if you look at this query here, where we want to get some data from sales order header, we are doing a sum on subtotal. So, you want to do a group by on customer ID, and you also want to order the data by customer ID. So let's go and execute this. Okay, let's turn on actual execution plan and jump over here. Okay, 1 sec. So I think we have a covering index. Let me just drop these indexes. I think these exist. Let's just give it a try. Okay, let's try once again. So covering 3 still there. Am I in? Okay, let's see how many indexes do we have here on sales order header. Let's just give it a quick try. Okay, there you go. Okay, so the name of the index is covering 3. I should be getting rid of that first. That is the reason why we get the right output. Okay, so let's go and drop this. This should do the job. Yes. Do I have covering 2 then? Should be checking all of this. Okay, no, we don't have. I think we're good. Okay, so let's go and execute this now. Okay, and let's turn on the actual execution plan. Originally, this is where what we were looking at is, now if you look at the query, we are doing an aggregate on subtotal. We want the data to be presented in grouped fashion. So we do a group by customer ID and we do an order by. Now, if you look at this simple execution plan, and trust me, this is a execution plan, which is kind of a shortened version of a lot of, big execution plans where sort operators, hash matches, they turn out to be very expensive. And here too, you will see that the sort is about 56% cost here, right? And of course, you have the hash match, but your first worry is the sort operator. And why do you have the sort operator here? Because you want to order the data by customer ID. Now, the quick thing is you want to order the data by customer ID and you also want to group the data by customer ID. What you could do is, and because this is where I'm just showing you the power of indexes. I'm not discussing multiple scenarios here. I'm straight away going into the right solution, which is creating the right index, where we create the index on customer ID and we also include subtotal. Now, those of you who are watching this demo, this content carefully, you will see there are certain permutations and combinations to be considered, and you will see that we are looking at multi-column indexes in the first place with subtotal comma customer ID. And then we're also looking at customer ID comma subtotal. We're reversing the order of columns, but this is just an intro session. So I'm not going to get into this. Let's close this. Let's just do this one, C3 covering. Now, if we do this one, let's go and execute this. We create the right index. And now if you select the query here and execute it, jump over to the execution plan, two things you will observe. The first thing is hash match gets converted to stream aggregate and the sort operator is gone. There is no sort operator. So this is a very cheap execution plan in comparison to the previous one. Okay. Why do you think the sort operator went away? Anyone? Answers in the chat window. Why do you think the sort operator got away? If you want to watch the remainder part of the webinar and all the remaining demos, you can subscribe to the webinar on SQLmaestros.com and get lifetime access to the recorded webinar. All you have to do is just go to SQLmaestros.com, click on the recorded webinar section and get access to all the webinar recordings. There are many of them. Some of these webinars are free and some of them are very nominally priced. So the ones that you're interested in, you can subscribe to them and get lifetime access. Now, because there are so many webinars, subscribing to each webinar might be a bit cumbersome. So we have another option, which is SQL Maestros membership. So the first link on SQL Maestros says join. If you click on that, it will bring you to SQL Maestros membership. Things are very simple. There are two membership levels. The first level is free, where you get access to all the free webinars and all our tutorials and demos, more than 200, 300 demos and tutorials. All you have to do is just become a free member. You're paying nothing and you get access to all of them. So you don't have to go and subscribe to each webinar individually. Just become a free member and then explore the free video lobby. So if you go to the video lobby here, there is something called as free content where you get access to all of that. But then all of us are interested in advanced content, isn't it? And that is where premium membership comes into play. So the webinars that are paid, and there are many advanced tutorials and demos. If you want access to all of them, you can become a premium member and pay a nominal price, which is annual membership. Once you do that, you can explore the premium video lobby. If you go to the premium video lobby from here, or just go to the video lobby and click on premium content, you can see all the paid webinars and all the advanced tutorials and demos and get access to all of them with your annual membership. Anyway, choice is yours. There's a lot of content on SQLmaestros.com, and you can also explore the YouTube membership level as well. So you have free content on YouTube channel, and you can also join and become a member of SQL Maestros on YouTube, where you can pay a monthly fee, get access to all the paid webinars and advanced content. So in summary, You can go to SQLmaestros.com and become a member, or you can become a member on YouTube also. Becoming a member on SQLmaestros.com turns out to be a little cost effective with the annual membership in comparison to YouTube monthly membership. But anyway, choice is yours, whichever platform you wish to use. Happy SQL.